Uh, Good morning, church. This is my least favorite place to be. I prefer around the drum, but I was given a task today and I'll execute it to the best of my ability. So, the theme is Dad's indelible mark. What does indelible mean? Indelible is defined as something that cannot be erased, removed, or forgotten. It refers to marks, stains, or impressions that are permanent. And in a metaphoric sense, it can also refer to memories or experiences that leave a lasting impact. I remember when I was younger, there was a bunch of bananas on the table. And back then I didn't understand what sharing was, really and truly. So I saw bananas, like, oh, bananas, I like bananas. So I ate all the bananas. When the parents came home, though, and there was no bananas, the rod was drawn. And since that moment, I was learning to share. I learned to ask anybody wants some. I learned how to not be gluttonous. And so that is what they call an indelible mark, something that happened, and to this day, 20 years after the fact, I still remember very well. So it's important to note that an indelible mark can be either negative or positive. When we hear indelible mark, we tend to associate it with positive circumstances. A father who is hardly around for his kids and families will leave an indelible mark. A father who comes home and abuses his wife in front of his children will leave an indelible mark. A father whose only contact with his children is when he's handing down corporal punishment will leave an indelible mark. A father who never once said, give any words of affirmation, no hugs, no kisses, nothing. All they give are words of disgust, hatred, what they spitting. These are words that are spewed at their children, and the children remember these things growing up. And what it means, you will see the effects of these words and these actions on persons today. Because as I say, indelible mark is something that cannot be erased, removed, or forgotten. You can think of it like children are like canvases. The parents, the fathers, what they do, their actions put a stroke on that canvas. And when you see a person, you're looking at that canvas and you can see the effect that their parents had on their lives growing up. Everything that I have described are negative, indelible marks a father can leave behind on the hearts and minds of their children. However, as there is darkness, there is light. So thanks be to God, we do have good fathers and good role models who have left positive, lasting impressions on their children. You heard Brother Kyle just spoke highly about his father, and that is a very good example of a positive, indelible marks being placed on his life. God is our prime example. First and foremost, he's the archetype, and we try to emulate him as much as we can. Fathers who never hesitate to express their love. Fathers who provide advice and counsel in times of uncertainty. Fathers who pray for you and ask God's blessing and covering over your life. Many times I might come down in the kitchen, 2 o'clock in the morning to get some snacks, because I work late, right? And I'll hear my father praying, and you'll hear him he'll be putting my sister in prayer before God and say, God bless them, keep them, help them to survive this world that is filled with sin and iniquity. Let them not be thrown away by the wayside. And I there and I say, wow, there is someone always praying for me. My father is always lifting me up in prayer. And I am grateful that I have such a strong Christian background. Because there are persons who never experience this sort of love, this godly love, where they have a father who loves God more than they love them. And the love that he has for God, it teaches him certain things that he can then now express to his own children. Some parents never receive love. And if you haven't received love, it's hard to even give love. But I thank God for the situation that I'm in. We see examples in the Bible of persons who were excellent fathers, and I can imagine, I think we spoke about this last week. Well, tangentially, we spoke about the lady with the issue of blood, but it was in the same story as Jairus and his daughter. Here we have Jairus, a father, desperate to get help for his daughter. Jairus was a man who was a ruler in a synagogue, but his daughter needed help. And he sought the help from the old man who could help him. What we have to understand is Jairus, when he met Jesus, he bowed down asking for his help. What a good father will do in times of trouble, they'll try their best to assist their children, and nothing else matters. Pride gets thrown away. There's no more haughtiness, because at this point in time, I need help. Pride cannot help me. So I need to humble myself and bow and say, God, please provide the service and the assistance that I need in this time. David was another good example of a father who deeply loved his children and wanted to see them do well in life. David is described as a man after God's own heart. And though David had his issues and his shortcomings, kill a man, take a man, woman, these are some of the things he did. But he was still an excellent father. In scriptures it is seen that in spite of his son Absalom rebelling against him and doing all manner of evil, David grieved deeply at news of his death. He was not excited that his son had died. So in spite of all the sins and the torment that his son had committed against him, he was still a loving father. So a father will love you in spite of all circumstances. He will love you in spite of everything that you did. The prodigal son story shows that when this man came back, when the son came back, after wasting all that money, the father ran and welcomed him with open arms. David was also the father who prayed for his son Solomon in 1 Chronicles 29, verse 19. He asked God to give Solomon a loyal heart, to keep God's commandments, testimonies, and statutes. So a loving father will always pray to God, please help my son, help my daughter to maintain a life that is spiritual, maintain a relationship with you. In closing, just remember, fathers, your kids are looking to you for guidance and instructions. They'll watch what you do unbeknownst to you. Growing up, my prayer to God used to be that grant me the wisdom. Because I used to watch my father and he used to see him so wise. He always had the right answer for certain situations. He was patient. He had high tolerance. He knew he was tactful. He's a businessman. So he knew how to manage certain situations. Say, God, I want to be just like him. Yeah. And sometimes parents don't know that you're watching them. But it's when you start to emulate what they do, then they realize, wait, he was watching me all this time. So when you think that no one is watching you, just to know that a child is peeping around the corner, seeing what you're doing. So always be careful and remember that there is always someone watching you. So in that vein, let us leave positive, indelible marks on the lives of our children and persons we may come in contact with. Thank you.